may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, guys, we are skyrocketing to 1,000 subscribers right now, so I want to give everyone a massive thank you that has decided to subscribe to the channel, everybody that has been dropping likes on the videos, because y'all have absolutely been killing it. And I want to remind everyone, I know I'm annoying with this, but like I said, we are getting new listeners every single day, so I have to make sure that everybody knows this rule. Guys, if I say anything stupid, anything that you disagree with at all, please do not hesitate. Go down to the comment section and go, hey Mason, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about here. Because there's a good chance that I am an idiot. There's a good chance that I don't know what I'm talking about there. And you are smarter than I am. So if I say something wrong in this video, I do not want it to go overlooked. I want everybody else watching this video to be able to go down to the comment section and be like, okay, Joe Schmo knows what he's talking about here. Mason has no idea. Let's go with Joe, because we are working together. I'm not trying to lead us the way, because I promise you, if I'm the only one leading us, we are going to go down a path where nobody's winning their leagues. So we all need to be in this together, trying our best to dominate this 2021 season. Okay, but anyway, what we are going to be doing in this video is we are going to be going through and we are just going to be talking about 3 hitters that have had an incredible start to 2021, and I understand that you can't take everything away from this video. This isn't going to be something saying, hey, these hitters are going to continue to perform like this, or sell them right now while their value is high. What we have to do is we have to look at some other stats that go along with this, go, okay, what is the realistic expectation here? And then where can you move from there? Okay, so our first player we're going to be bringing up is going to be an outfielder for the Minnesota Twins. It's going to be Byron Buxton, who right now has been absolutely destroying the first week of the Major League season. Now, I will say that he was going at a decent range in fantasy drafts this year, where in high-stakes leagues, he had an average draft position of 110, so he was going off the board in about the 10th round for those 12-team leagues. And yes, he is just now getting to his prime. We know this is one thing that's different with baseball than you would expect with some other sports. The prime window for these power hitters is going to be a little bit older on. So now he's turning 27, getting into the range where you really want to be targeting him. And just in case you're new to this channel, I want to let everybody know that the last thing that we want to do right away is just jump into the 2021 season and jump into this very small sample. What I would rather do is go back to 2019, because 2019 is the last completely normal year that we had for baseball. Then we can address 2020, even though there's not as much to take away from it because the variables were weird. We understand that it was also a small sample, but everybody should know this by now. So in 2019, we did not have an entire season for Byron, where he only had 295 at-bats, but in these 295 at-bats, there were a few very encouraging things here. The stolen bases were up at 14, so obviously if you expect those at-bats to possibly work their way up to 550, work their way up to 580, then you would be seeing those stolen bases also jump up to a range that's extremely respectable in like 23, 24. So we know that that alone makes the value where you were getting him in this year's past draft probably worth it. Then the other thing that we need to be looking at is the power that he was coming through with. So the power is what stands out with the slugging at 513. We know that doesn't just jump out the page right away, but when you combine it with the fact that you were getting him around 10 and you were also getting those stolen bases attached to it, that's what we want to see. And now, if we go over to 2020, it's going to be hard to take a lot away from it because he did only see 130 at-bats. Now, I will say, what we want to track is we want to go, okay, in 2019, we didn't have a full sample and the slugging looked like it was jacked up a little bit. What was it in 2020? Did this maintain? Did it regress slightly as you would expect? No. If anything, it just went on the further end of the extreme where he only had 130 at-bats and he hit 13 bombs, 13 home runs this season. To go along with this, a 577 slugging at the end of the year. Now, stolen bases weren't quite up there, but it was 130 at-bats. I mean, what are you really going to be expecting with stolen bases off of a sample size that small? It's going to be way too hard to extrapolate anything. Now, if we go over to 2021, the story of the power has continued. I mean, he's only had 19 at-bats, and already 4 home runs. So obviously you're never going to be expecting this ratio from any player in Major League Baseball, but the story here is extremely consistent. The story here is you have a powerful hitter that you were able to get in the later rounds of your fantasy baseball draft this year. To go along with this, we know that stolen bases is going to be a category that is so hard to come by, and we've seen him have it before in 2019 on a smaller sample. Now in 2021, to go along with the 19 at-bats, the 4 home runs, so that only leaves 15 at-bats for him to possibly get on base. He's already at a stolen base to go along with this. Now, obviously, the ratios are going to look extremely insane. I kind of just want to bring them up for it to be funny. Batting average of 421, on base percentage of 476, and a 1,211 slugging right now. So absolutely insane. Obviously, this is going to regress slightly, but based on all the trends that you've seen happening over the past 3 years for Byron Buxton, you have to be extremely excited, and you have to just be looking at him as a player that is going to give you 2 categories that are very hard to come by, and 2 categories that not many players outside of the guys at the very top of drafts are going to have at the same time. Okay, so now let's bring up our next guy, also an outfielder, this time for the Cincinnati Reds, a lineup that has been giving you ridiculous production. It's going to be Nick Castellanos, who was also going early in fantasy drafts this year, a little bit earlier actually. He had an ADP of 74, and also this is going to be a player that you would expect his power to continue to progress because he is stepping into his age 29 year, so peaking at the right time for his power. And now what's actually nice about this player, especially if we are trying to take a hard stance on him, is when we go through his recent years, 2019, that is going to be the prime thing to look at because he has over 600 at-bats. And yes, he was traded halfway through the season, so it was a little bit weird, but we know in baseball that's not too big of a deal. But over 600 at-bats, a batting average close to 300, an on-base percentage at 337, and a slugging at 525. So obviously you see those numbers and you go, okay, how was he going at pick 74, especially when the Reds lineup looks this dominant early on? Now, I will say he's going to give you no stolen bases. That's not something that you can expect. Pretty much just pure hitting statistics. And I think another reason you got the value on him was because in 2020, he really did not live up to this 2019 season. Now, he only had 218 bats, and that's going to be the one thing I want to point out. Guys, I don't know how many times we need to talk about this, but these 2020 seasons are not nearly as important than when you have that 2019 year with that extremely large sample in a regular year. But in 2020, 218 at-bats, a batting average around 220, an on-base percentage under 300, a slugging at 486, so down across the board. But so far in 2021, he looks like he is kind of going back to what he gave you in 2019, where in 23 at-bats, he has 9 runs already, which is straight up ridiculous. What's even more ridiculous is the fact that he has 4 home runs. Now, he has a 435 average, a 480 on-base percentage. I mean, obviously, these numbers are going to look crazy. It's only 1 week into the season. This is going to regress. But it looks like this may be another player that people kind of overvalued the 2020 season with, and we should have been going with that 2019 year. Okay, so now let's get to our last guy we are going to talk about, and he was someone that we referenced early this week, so I'm not going to spend too much time on him. This is going to be Yerman Mercedes, and y'all know that he was on our waiver wire video at the very beginning of this week. Back then, he was about available in 40-45% of leagues, so I really hope y'all went out there and picked him up because he looks straight up ridiculous right now. One thing that we talked about in that video is he's catcher eligible in some formats, which is going to be a game changer because we know that position is so hard to get production from. B, he's batting 5th in the Chicago White Sox lineup. We know that's a lineup that you want to target. You look across pretty much any fantasy baseball site, and they all have their projections on the runs scored from the White Sox sky high. Only 28 years old. What's weird is you just simply don't have the record of major league performances because he's a 28-year-old player that's played in the minor leagues his entire career. Now, if you go to AAA, 187 at-bats, a 310 average, a 386 on-base percentage. But more importantly, a 647 slugging. And I know it's a small sample, but still, you can look at that. And even a smaller sample, but something that is absurd is what he's done in 2021 so far. Through 6 games, he's had 27 at-bats, 15 hits, 2 home runs, a batting average of 556 off of 27 at-bats. That's ridiculous. A slugging close to 900. So Yerman Mercedes, I really hope y'all picked him up, because if you picked him up at the beginning of the week with the production he's given you off the waiver wire, I mean, if he continues to give you anything close to this, I mean, his numbers can literally be 60% of what they are now, and he will still be an impact player that you got off the waiver wire. Now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. Of course, if y'all did, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and I will see y'all with the video tomorrow.